What's up, guys? Welcome back. Welcome back to another video. Appreciate you guys clicking on here this afternoon. Got a very windy, rainy, dreary afternoon, at least down here in my neck of the woods. So hopefully if you guys were out on the water today, you guys are off by now because it's probably a little bit sporty out there if I had to guess. But just wanted to hop on here, give you guys an Okeechobee report. Told you guys I was going to try and get these to you a little bit more consistently. If not weekly, then bi-weekly, just really depending on how rapidly and quick the lake changes. And whenever I have anything to add or talk about. So been out on the water the last 8 or 9 days straight, so I feel like I've got a pretty good feel, overall read of the lake. So I just wanted to hop on here and talk to you guys about it. So I guess we'll just jump right into it. Today is October 9th, and the lake level today is 13.68 feet above sea level. So we're above that 13.5 foot mark, which, as much as I love a low lake, I really do, going into the fall and winter months, I do like the lake being a little bit higher. And that 13.5 foot mark is the lower end of the overall lake average, at least it used to be. I like that 13.5 to 14.5 foot zone, really going in through the winter months, just because, it's not too high where it's going to drown out a lot of grass. And, B, it's high enough to where when we do get these big prevailing winds, that muddy lake water off the main lake doesn't push into these backwater bays and flats and little protected pockets that these fish love to get into this time of year to spawn. But it's high enough where that they can get back there. A lower lake level, that 12.5 foot, it just doesn't allow these fish to really tuck in far in the back, and they're real susceptible, the waves and the muddy water and the wind and all that. So right now we're good. I'm very curious to see how this plays out with all the rain we've been getting, how much higher the lake's going to get. I know it's coming up each and every day, but as we get into the more drier months, maybe that'll slow down. Curious to see. But either way, as of right now, if I'm being honest with you guys, the lake looks really, really good. We were really close to having a total reset on this lake, and we were about a foot away. And what I mean by that is I think the lake got down to about 1090 was the lowest it got this summer. If we would have got down there to that 9.5 foot range, 990 even, man, there's no telling what could have been. You could see the results of the low lake as you make your way into the back, really anywhere on Okeechobee right now, from Pelican Bay all the way up through Clewiston, all the way up to north of the Kissimmee River. If you get in the back into these areas that were primarily out of water, maybe it wasn't bone dry, but there was no water to be had in these areas, but the bottom and the dry land, if you will, was more like a soupy consistency. You could see we got a lot of grass growth, a little bit of everything from some new reeds, a lot of yearling cattails have sprouted up, and a lot of needlegrass. I say a lot, but a good amount of needlegrass all the way down the west side of the lake in the back. And there is a decent amount of eelgrass coming back as well in areas that a lot of people probably haven't found yet. I was lucky enough just to kind of luck across some on my trips. A lot of my trips, I've been letting my customers obviously fish in the front of the boat. I've been in the back dragging a rattle trap or a chatterbait, just kind of feeling around, seeing where there's some new growth. And we did get some eelgrass back. Again, it's a small step, but it's a small step in the right direction. If we would have had another foot lower of water, there's no telling, how great it could have been. So hopefully the water doesn't come up too much and it drowns out this grass that we've gotten back. But besides that, obviously the never-ending battle of trying to stop the spraying on the lake is, we're still in it, So I don't know. The spraying it's crazy. Laid down on a trip the other day in an area that looked really healthy and had a spray boat. As soon as I laid the boat down, he just started emptying his tank as fast as he could just to really get out of there, and probably in fear of being harassed or what have you. Although I wanted to, I was on a trip and just decided not to say anything. But this guy was literally just spraying bare water. Tried to get video of it, but it just didn't really come out great. So I encourage any of you, don't just bash it on Facebook. If you guys have any videos or anything, be sure to take videos of them, these spray boats doing this. Um, we've kind of starting to get a little bit of a, now that we're starting to get a little bit of control on the water levels of the lake, where they're trying to control that a little bit better. It's still a never-ending battle with it, but we have seen some improvements. Now it's kind of that time where we could take the next step as approaching the other problem, which is the abundance of spraying. And that's not a battle that's just happening here on Lake Okeechobee or even just in the state of Florida. It's a battle that's now starting to turn really across the entire country. So I don't know. That's a whole other issue, but one that we are definitely paying attention to. But as far as the lake right now, as of October 9th, it looks great. Seeing lots of needle grass, lots of new cattails, like I said. Shrimp grass is abundant everywhere. And although a lot of people are saying that doesn't really do anything, I agree. It's not hydrilla, right? And it's not eelgrass or peppergrass, but it is something. The fish are kind of taking to it in a lot of areas, and it's definitely no denying that it is a phenomenal filter. I mean, I'm trying to not fish around the shrimp grass, not because the fish don't like it, but because the areas that have an abundance of it are, in my opinion, they're too clean. I mean, it's like running through Biscayne Bay back in the day when you're fishing around it. So that's really good to see, though, and encouraging to see. Lots of good bottom, good hard sandy bottom with a lot of, very little muck around it, really all around the lake. So that's all very promising. As far as the fishing, I'm starting to see, fortunately, I'm starting to see signs where it's going to start improving. Man, it was tough here the last couple months, but it always is, traditionally this time of year. If you look at, the Roland Martin Ring Series tournament, it took, 25 pounds, almost 26 pounds, I think, to win that event. And, but then the weights dropped off significantly after that. And, there's a bunch of different factors. I mean, it was tough going into it for everybody. I had a spot that I told Kelly, if we can get to it, weather prevailing, if we're permitting, I should say, not prevailing, weather permitting, we'll catch 40, 50 fish, and we'll probably have between 15 and 18 pounds, depending on if we get a big one or not. And we won't have to pick the power poles up. And we were able to get there. We were able to set up on it. The water looked great. It was not comfortable, but the water looked great. And we never had a bite there. That's just typical Okeechobee for you. The fish were there 2 days prior, feeding. Couldn't keep a bait away from them and roll in their derby day, and they are gone. Ended up staying there for 3 hours, made some adjustments, moved around like crazy. And those fish were just gone. No telling where they went. So then we had to scramble. And, we only had 4 fish for 9 pounds. The hurt. It was crazy. The weights were pretty low overall. But then went out the very next day and went to a stretch that, me and Kelly fished and had quite a few bites with some good size. So what's kind of happening, I think, is we're on the full moon right now. We just got off of it. We are starting to feel some cooler air temps. The water, due to the rain and just the lower air temps as well, is cooler. I'm not sure exactly. It all really depends where you're at in the lake, but the water temperature as a whole has definitely dropped a little bit, and looks like we're going to get a cold front here in the next 4 or 5 days. So it's going to sound crazy, but spawning is happening. I don't think it's a big wave, but there is a wave of fish that are up spawning. The problem is finding the females. Everyone I'm talking to, and I've got some very credible sources that are catching a lot of fish that are actively spawning in certain areas. And when you find them, they're very grouped up and they're catching a lot of fish. The problem they're having is there's no females. I mean, everyone I've talked to, there's 5 or 6 people. And again, some people have let me know exactly where they're at on the lake. Other people have just chose not to, and that's absolutely fine. And I don't really care, but it tells you that these males have made their way into these spawning areas. And that's the thing I was talking about with me and Kelly's spot. All the fish I were catching were definitely pre-spawn males. And every once in a while, you'd catch that 5 or 6 pound female, which is what I was hoping we might run into. And looking back at it now, when those males were gone, they probably made their way in and kind of maybe probably started setting up to spawn. Um, and I know this for a fact because a trip, the trip the following day, those fish were, I believe, they were actively spawning or heading into to spawn. And then, the following day, I ran a trip on a completely different end of the lake, tried to set up to catch spawners, ended up only catching three or four. They were males, but they were in the right area, and then went out yesterday to that same area and fished 100 yards outside of that area and had a couple of big bites. We caught a few really good fish, fat bellies, right where they should be, staging to come in to spawn, and these were females. So things are happening. It's kind of like they really want to, but the timing's not right. But some are still making that move. So the reason I'm getting into this is because this is when your presentations, your baits, how you approach the lake is going to change overnight. Uh, last week I told you need to be on the outside strictly. Just be on the outside of the lake. As of today, they're starting to really spread out. You can get bit super shallow. I mean, as far in the back as you can get, as well as the outside. So depending on the wind, 2 weeks ago, if it was super windy, I almost didn't even want to go because you really got to fish the main lake, closer to the main lake, and the wind might not let you. Whereas now you can get in the back, get protected, and you still have a very good chance at, getting a big bite and multiple bites. So really, from the north end of the lake all the way down to the south end, I'm being very vague, but there's literally fish to be caught in every area that on Lake Okeechobee. There's fish to be caught there. Catching them on a little bit of everything. A lot of people catching fish on a popping frog still. But with the high water, the new grasses, a swim bait, a gambler big easy or the easy swimmer, a skinny dipper, an NLBN K-tail, anything that you could use to cover water, you can get bit on, especially in that back shallow water that's very, very clean right now. A fast moving swim bait is a great choice. If you get a little bit closer to the outside, around those, Kissimmee grass fields or clumps or anything like that, where the wind is more of a factor, kind of blowing into these areas, a swim jig, a half-ounce swim jig is getting a lot of bites. And, along with that, flipping. You still catch some fish flipping out there. A lot of people are flipping reeds. Anywhere where you think some big females might be staging, that's a good way to get a big bite. As far as like flipping big fields of Kissimmee grass, I haven't had much luck with that. But for me, it's been isolated reeds or even just big reed heads that are out in front of some spawning areas. You can get some bites. And then in between, it's getting to that season where throwing a burner worm is your best friend. That's what we caught our few big fish on. We were actually throwing that around some shrimp grass, submerged grass and stuff, popping it out of that. And that's how we got those bigger bites closer to the outside edge. And the good thing about the lake right now, at least for me mentally, is a lot of that red water is starting to filter out. With those big blows we've had, these northeast winds and the wind rolling around, switching directions, it's kind of blown a lot of that red water out and, mixed it with that main lake water. So all the water looks really healthy. All the fish look extremely healthy out there as well. I haven't caught any that look poor or sick. They're all fat. They're all extremely strong, which is awesome. And they're just the right build of fish. So with this cool front, it would not surprise me if we had I don't want to say a major, but a decent push of new wave of fish coming into the back and starting to do the thing. So other than that, that's about it. But you can catch them kind of doing a little bit of everything. And it's just that time of year. Once we get into 3-4 cold fronts in, and when I say cold fronts, it can even be cool fronts, more or less just high pressure systems, then you're going to primarily want to be fishing towards the back. But don't be afraid to get skinny, but also don't be afraid to stay closer to the main lake and cover water. One thing I'm going to tell you right now is don't slow down until you get a bite. I've been covering a lot of water. I've been fishing relatively fast. But again, when you do get a bite, put your poles down because I have yet to find an area where I've only gotten one bite. These fish are starting to group up or break from being grouped up, depending on how you look at it. And yeah, fish it. Fish, if you get a bite, fish around, pull down, take your time. Then you don't get bit, pick up, go to the next one. But I don't think in the last few days I've had just singular bites, aside from the Rollins tournament. That was just a complete disaster. Just wasn't me and Kelly's day. But that's about it. Good fishing is definitely on the horizon. That we got things changing. I'm very, very, very excited for this fall and this winter, and just see what happens. We've got the Lake and Trail. There's a big, the Lake and Trail Classic in 2 weekends. If the wind doesn't howl and the cold fronts don't slam us, I think it's going to be a big weight tournament. There's a Bass Busters tournament this weekend. I'm actually going to be in Georgia, but we'll see what the weights are for that. But you're going to start seeing the weights go up, 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 as opposed to down, down, down. We had some record low weights this summer, so I'm excited to finally start seeing some bigger fish show up and just some bigger bags of fish overall. So hope this helps you guys out. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. I had a lot of questions before on this brand 5 Alive. Great people running that. If you guys want to check them out, they just got all their new shirts, new hats, and everything finally in. You can check that out on their website. Really cool little company, and ran by some great people. Obviously, Senko Sticks. If you guys want to check out their website, I encourage you to do so. They got all kinds of new stuff coming out. I did that video on the Dominator series. $200 price point for an American-built bass, or American-built fishing rod, I should say. But it's very hard to find a handcrafted American-built rod at that price point. I really don't think you're going to, with the craftsmanship and the quality of that rod. Absolutely love that thing. The 7-1, that is my go-to burner worm rod. That's what I've been throwing my burner worm on since I got the thing. And we're going to make some pretty special videos coming up with that 7.5 heavy, throwing the old Gambler Big Easy around here soon after a couple of cold fronts. So look forward to that. But appreciate you guys clicking on the video. Like I said, get out there, be safe. And if you want to book a trip, just let me know. And I will see you guys on the next one, Tight Lines.